All right, lads, it's the Couch Ones podcast here. We're just going to do a kind of quick review of game week one. We're going to go through the seven teams, the kind of traditionally biggest nations, basically after their first game, and review how they've done and if it's changed our opinions of them or if we basically think they're better or worse off than what we'd expected. So, Darryl, do you want to start us off there?
Yeah, so the first team, the first match of the whole tournament really was Turkey versus Italy, and obviously Italy is the team that we'll be having a quick review of today. Yeah, I'm like kind of not shocked about Italy because like that's where I put my bet on for the tournament, but pleasantly shocked with how Italy just completely dismantled Turkey and dominated them over 90 minutes. Like it was just unbelievable. Like how they kept the ball, how they attacked. Like Turkey barely got a sniff in. They were just completely all over them. Like
Yeah, I completely agree. Like it was mad how dominant Italy were over Turkey. Like Italy were just so they kind of had like the typical like traditional Italian team ethics of like just be so solid in defense, don't give anyone even a half chance. Like they take such pride in defending. But I think they've definitely got a few more strings to their bow this time around. Like the midfielders they have, the three midfield, Barella, Jorginho, and Verratti. I know it wasn't Verratti in the last game, but it probably will be Verratti.
yeah,
From here onwards, it's just such a dynamic midfield. Like they really do have like a good balance of everything. Like I know we've discussed this before, but Jorginho is kind of splits opinion, but he definitely does keep the ball taken for Italy, and he suits that team perfectly because he's got kind of runners around him. Um, Especially Barella. Like Barella's so box to box. Who was the other midfielder that started actually?
Locatelli.
Against Turkey. Locatelli, yeah, Locatelli. I was trying to think of his name. He was unbelievable as well. Like the passing is unbelievable from the three of them, and then um obviously the front three were great as well. Berardi was probably a surprise starter over Chiesa, but then again he did get 17 league goals, whereas Chiesa, who everyone expected to start, only got 8 in the same amount of starts. Both got 30 starts. But regardless of that, Immobile got off to a goal scoring start, and a lot of people say, "Oh, he doesn't score goals outside of Italy, outside of Lazio, like he's failed everywhere else." But I think he's kind of starting to hopefully prove the doubters wrong about him being able to do it on the top level, and then obviously everyone knows that Insigne is a top level player. Like so, I'd say the only weaknesses again for Italy is really just the fullbacks. Like I don't really rate the fullbacks, but then when you have that kind of centre half pairing, you can't really help but rate Italy, and then they have a top class keeper in behind. But I'm I think I'm more convinced by Italy after watching that than I was even beforehand.
Yeah, I'm like presently shocked by how good Italy were. And like as you said, like their midfield and their front three is like nearly perfect. Like even depth wise, they have decent depth, and they could have quite a lot of tournament success. Um, and then they obviously have a top class goalkeeper in Donnarumma, and like a decent backline for international football. Like I really believe they could be a shock for the tournament. I know I'm saying it a little bit early, but and maybe it's a bit reactionary just because they beat Turkey, who I expected to be half decent. But they just have such a solid team, like in every area of the pitch.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think they'll cruise through the rest of the group. To be honest, they'll easily top that group, and then they have every chance to reckon. I reckon at least the semis they'll get to. Like I'd be shocked if they went out before that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. The next team that played was that we looked at anyways was Belgium, who beat Russia 3-0. Um, this was the match after the Denmark Finland game. Uh, so obviously there was probably a few players on the pitch that were just a little bit shocked going into the game. Um, but Belgium played pretty well. Um, I'm still not fully convinced by Belgium for some reason, even though they played well. It was against Russia, who I mean, I don't know. They're not half the team they were in 2018. But other than like Lukaku, for me, who could carry Belgium quite far, just being how good he is and the form he's on, I'm not convinced. Even if they win 3-0, I'm still just not fully convinced.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm pleasantly surprised by Belgium. Like I was kind of the same as you before the tournament. We were both kind of saying, I don't know, the golden generation is coming to an end and stuff. But I just think, and like, first of all, we have to say, I think that they had, of all the teams we're going to discuss, I think they had the best performance in the first game. I know the thing is, though, it was against like a really poor Russian team. But then again, you could also kind of say, oh, well, De Bruyne wasn't even playing. So imagine De
yeah,
Bruyne in that team then after. I think Eden Hazard looks absolutely dust. Like he just looks gone. Like I think a lot of people are still hanging on to the fact that he'll have this like spark or this moment where he comes back to life again. But I just think like when you're coming off 43 games in 2 seasons and you've only got 5 goals in those 43 games and you've just had a horrific time, probably mentally just as much as physically in terms of the injuries. It's just, I just don't see him performing in this tournament. De Bruyne, it's obviously hard to know. I think it's good that it's not like a leg injury or something. Like it's obviously an eye socket. It's still so bad, but
yeah.
it's not kind of going to affect his performance too much. Hopefully,
And
so like you've
Castagna,
seen Rudiger with the mask. Rudiger's only good when he wears a mask. Whenever he hasn't been, he's not been the same player. But
Batman.
Yeah, Castagna was a bad injury. Hopefully that doesn't um affect him because he's a massive player. But
Well,
I'm happy with Belgium compared to what I expected. But in terms of overall winners, I'm still not convinced.
yeah, no, neither am I. I'm pretty sure I read that Castagna had a double eye socket fracture or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, he had the eye socket fracture too, the same as De Bruyne had,
Yeah, yeah. So, he'd probably
which
be
is
out
not
for a
good
little
news.
while anyways. And they'll both be wearing masks. They can do a Batman celebration if one of them scores. The next team to play was, the world's most overhyped team of all time, England, who beat Croatia 1-0 at Wembley. Again, just not like it's just typical England, isn't it? Like this mad hype, mad hype. Yeah, they won 1-0 and they played like half decent, but like Croatia coming into the tournament, I can't remember what team I saw them play against. I'm not sure if it was Andorra or Armenia or one of those types of teams. But like, not sure if they drew or draw or like won in the last minute. But they just haven't looked good recently, Croatia. And like, obviously, their tactics were to just like, sit back and try and maybe counter. But England just, once again, like, I know they didn't have all their best players out, or like Henderson wasn't playing and Maguire wasn't playing. But I don't know. I think the hype will has to dampen down a bit.
Uh, I agree with you to an extent. Like I think this is kind of typical of all tournaments that I remember anyway. It's always kind of like you get a draw or you get a scrappy win, and the whole thing
Yeah,
is, oh well, we got the 3 points. That's all that matters. Like I know performance football, like it's only 7 games. Like you don't need to be playing unbelievable to win, but that's just kind of papering over the cracks. It's kind of like it's kind of just shoving it all under the carpet. Like at the end of the day, England did well, and the fact that
yeah.
a midfield of Mount, Calvin Phillips, and Rice actually genuinely did outperform Kovacic, Brozovic, and Modric. I thought that was really impressive, to be honest, because
Phillips,
the experience in that midfield. Yeah, Phillips was amazing.
he was unbelievable. It was pretty surreal. Like that,
Yeah.
maybe he could get a move this year. I don't know if he wants to move away from Leeds with the way they're going, but if he has a good tournament, he could be one of those players with a big target on his back for a big club to swoop in and just 50 million or something like
Even
that.
like a United, like if there's one club, they probably are. United probably, obviously Leeds United is a big rivalry, so maybe not, but
Yeah.
like United are definitely in need of a player like that. But anyway, I don't think he will leave. But
No.
um, he was class. I got the assist too. There was obviously a lot of controversy about the selection of the team playing Trippier as a left back. Well, he's in his entire career, he's only played left back 4 times and all 400 yards out gate. I thought it was just so strange. Like, and like it's just like, obviously it's in sport, it's fine lines. He's a genius for doing that because they won. But if they'd lost 1-0, it would have been, he's a fool, he's this, he's that. I just think I still do think it is strange. Like, I would start Shaw if it was me. I think if I was playing a back five, I'd start Chilwell. Just the fact that Chilwell's got so much more experience playing back five. But starting a back four, like, Shaw's been better than Chilwell this year. He deserves to be starting. Maybe Trippier. Maybe it's the fact that it's the set pieces he gives you too. Obviously, that's a factor. But I'm not sure. Like, I just find it a bit strange one. Sterling starting. I know, again, fine margins, fine lines. He scores the winner, 1-0 win. He's a hero. Gareth Southgate's a genius, but don't really think he merited, to be honest, the selection. But then again, I think Southgate always picks his kind of men that he rely on, and he has done well. Like, 34 of his 54 starts. He has 50 odd starts for England. I'm not sure if it's 54 exactly, but 34 of them have come under Southgate. So shows he's really trusted.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I honestly, I don't think Sterling played that well, to be honest with you. But you
Yeah,
know, I think the big thing for England was that Harry Kane didn't play very well, in my opinion.
I was about to say that.
In my
I think
opinion,
that's worrying.
gave the ball away so cheaply. Just didn't look a danger whatsoever. Didn't look like the Harry Kane that you see play for Spurs. Now, do I think, like, who they play next? Scotland next. He could literally have the game of his life, and the Croatia match is just
Scotland were
completely forgotten
poor.
about.
They'll definitely beat Scotland.
Yeah,
Scotland were so poor.
yeah. But if Kane does have a good game against Scotland, bags a goal or something like that, like, it's just forgotten about completely. But he did have a pretty awful game, and he'll probably need to kick on if England actually think they have any chance of doing well in this tournament. It kind of has to be around Kane.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think England will get knocked out in the last 16. I just think, even tonight, watching Germany and France, you'd probably say Germany are still the third best team out of Germany, France, Portugal in that group. Like, you'd expect Germany to go through as probably the third team if they get 3 points against Hungary, which you'd expect. But I just don't see England beating either of those three. Like, whoever gets out of the group, I just don't see it, to be honest. Like, um, considering whatever one of them comes second, they'll be reliant on that game. But yeah, no, I just think England won't beat either of them teams. They won't. They don't have it in them.
Yeah, yeah, me too. To be honest with you, well, obviously Harry Kane. If England have all their players absolutely firing, I think they can beat anyone. Especially if Kane is just on his top form. They have the team, the 11 to beat
Yeah,
anyone. But I don't know. I think there's just so much pressure on the English team constantly that I don't think they'll necessarily provide. Um,
yeah, same me.
yeah. So the next team that then played was Spain, who drew 0-0 with Sweden. So I caught like the last 20 minutes of this game, and like I was almost falling asleep. It was absolutely awful. Like, it was just, it was like nearly unwatchable. It's like, oh, Spain build up from the back, gets into the last third, can't do anything with it. It's literally the Spain that we've seen since like 2014. Like, it's like perfect build up play up until the final third, and then they just don't know what to do.
Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree. I saw the stat this morning, and I genuinely thought I was seeing things. But Spain had 85% possession, and Sweden had 15%. That doesn't even sound real.
Yeah,
But I think that, um same as you. My problem with Spain the last few tournaments is they play a flat five across the midfield. There's no pace or penetration or wingers really with genuine pace out on either side. It's just five flat centre midfielders, all with the exact same qualities. They're all small, technical, kind of diminutive players, and they're all quality at what they do. But you can't play five players of that. And then Morata up front, like, I don't rate Morata. Like, I genuinely think he's a decent. It's the same as what I'd say about Werner, but I think Werner's a lot better. Like, he brings players into play, and his link up play is good and dropping deep and providing spaces. But Spain just lack genuine pace. Like, Adama Traore has no end product. He's pace but no end product. They just need like even someone like a Rashford, like just someone just for instance, um, who has a bit of a threat about him, but has a like a real rapid pace as well. I just feel like Spain lack that, and they have because every single thing they do is in front of the defense. They're always it's so easy to sit back. What Sweden
Yeah,
do, but then again, as much as I say that, if Morata scores that absolute sitter in the game, I think Spain going to win 2 or 3 nil because once Sweden come out, Spain are going to play them off the park. So, but I think international tournaments teams are going to do that. Like it's the same with Portugal today, with Hungary. Like it's going to happen. So you need to be prepared for that.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I agree. I think Spain were pretty bad, to be honest. You know, you can't play like
Mm.
that in international football.
I
Excuse
could
me.
see Spain. Obviously, all this depends on the draws because they could get a really easy draw or a really
Yeah,
difficult draw, and they might get knocked out earlier or later. But I don't really see Spain getting past the quarters. To be honest, I think quarters would be a respectable tournament as well, considering the state of the kind of Spanish Federation the last few years, like in terms of the players that are coming through and things. So I'd say
yeah,
that would be a respectable finish.
yeah. So on to, I guess we can talk about the last three teams all in one because they're all part of the same group. So Portugal played Hungary tonight and won 3-0, and France played Germany and won 1-0. We'll start with Portugal's win over Hungary. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of expected for Portugal to win 3-0 against Hungary, but I think it was the fashion that they done it in that kind of should be highlighted. Like, I think it was 1-0 until the 87th minute. Am I right by saying that? Or was
I think it was like 82nd,
yeah,
82nd.
something like that. It was yeah. What did you think?
Um, I wasn't that convinced. Like 3-0 looks like they absolutely like destroyed them, but it really wasn't. It was similar. It was just extremely similar to the Spain Sweden game. It's just the fact that Portugal had people up front who could finish their chances.
Yeah,
Saying that Ronaldo missed an absolute sitter, then you can forgive him though, because he obviously scored two, and he's always gonna score a few for you. I just think Portugal, they weren't really that good today, but I think I wouldn't be too critical of Portugal because I feel like teams can grow into tournaments, and the fact that they were actually poor and scored 3 goals. I know one of them was a penalty, but it was a stonewall penalty and it would have been a goal otherwise. So I think it's a positive. Ronaldo's got 2 goals straight off the mark, becoming the top scorer in European Championship history with 11, which is unreal. Probably increase. Um, yeah, I just think it's really. I think Portugal looked good. Um, not necessarily good, but I still back them to go very far, if not win it.
yeah, yeah. You kind of summed it up all there. Um, I'd probably say the same. You know, like realistically with the squad they
Yeah.
have, they should be getting to at least the semi-finals.
Oh yeah, sure. Like this is a better squad than the one they won it with by far. Like that, this
Oh
team would hammer that team.
yeah, million miles like that. They're not even comparable. Like um,
Yeah,
the final game then was France versus Germany, which was obviously like I guess you could say the biggest one of the whole first game week for a neutral. And anyways, and France won 1-0 from a Mats Hummels own goal. It was a bit of a weird match. I thought it was actually kind of sloppy, the game. You know, there was lots of like rash tackles and
yeah,
stuff like that. Then as well as that, France did get 2 goals disallowed for offside.
yeah.
Um, one of them I thought was unbelievable, by the way, but it
Oh,
was
Mbappe's what a goal.
it's pretty sad to see it get reeled off. But
Yeah,
yeah, I still think like although it was only 1-0, I think it was actually closer to a 3-0 game for me than it was to a 1-0 game. I don't. Germany just didn't really create much significant chances. Now neither did France, but I mean, if it was a yard here or there, it could have been 3-0.
yeah. I agree with you to an extent. I do think Germany created a few chances, but one thing I will say is, when you're watching the game, you never felt like France weren't in full control. Like they
Yeah,
always had control of the game. I thought Pogba was unbelievable, especially the first half. That pass for the goal, definitely a great pass. Like that's what the goal comes from. Um, Pogba was just really good in the first half. Just so good midfield. Like the strength of him is unbelievable. His technical ability, like the way he just sprays passes, like he makes everything look so effortless. That's Pogba at his best. But then again, as I said, that's Kante beside him. Second half, he was giving the ball away a bit more, which is like what you'd probably see slightly more often than the great sides you saw in the first half. But I felt like France weren't like what you expect. Like when you look at the starting 11, you have 5 or 6 world class players in there.
yeah,
Like you have Pogba, Kante, Griezmann, Mbappe, Benzema, Varane. Like it's a top team, but you just feel like I feel like France never live up to what they expect them to be though, and that's actually just their game plan. They don't go out to play unbelievable football, and they they kind of just they never really go out and play like a really expansive brand of football. It's very cautious. Like I feel like even Rabiot in the starting 11, I was kind of like what's he doing there? Like it's just kind of he looks a bit out of place in when you're looking at the team sheets. You're like it's just not a big kind of name or a big player, but he's just in there to do a job. Um, I think that's how they won the World Cup because I remember the last time they beat Australia 1-0 and they got the most scrappy goal. It was like a weird deflection or something, and I was like, oh, like, gee, they look terrible. But then they go on and win the World Cup, and besides the Argentina game, they never really had a great game in the World Cup. They looked kind of just decent in every game. They just got the job done, and it was exactly like tonight.
yeah. I agree. I was gonna bring up the World Cup. How like literally you felt like every game that like France weren't good enough to go ahead and
You
win
know,
the
this is the
competition.
one that got caught out in, but it just never happened.
Yeah, and then other than the Argentina game and obviously the final, um, where like they just well, I guess Argentina game was kind of close because like they were so bad defensively, but the final was just a clean sweep, like um,
Yeah,
and I think that's what people remember about France mostly in that World Cup is that Argentina game, which was honestly one of the best World Cup games that I can remember,
yeah,
and the final where they just destroyed Croatia completely over the 90 minutes. But yeah, I look, it's 1-0, but it's against Germany, who are probably the fourth or fifth best team in this tournament. Like, so that
yeah,
can't be like
yeah,
taken away. It's not Australia. It's Germany, and
yeah,
you know they'll get to play Hungary in their next game, and you know you'll maybe see a bit more of what they can do in that type of game, before they play Portugal, which is the last day of the group stages.
yeah. Just touching on Germany then as well.
Yeah,
I feel like Germany actually were decent. I I definitely think Germany could do damage in this tournament more than people are giving them credit for. Like I think a lot of people are just writing Germany off. Um, there's a lot of stuff in the press and everything like that, but I think Germany are a genuinely dangerous team. Like it's kind of, like I kind of feel like they're just one of those teams that you just write off at your peril. Like even when you're just watching them, you see like the ball go from Rudiger to Hummels, and then it goes to Cruz, then to Gundogan, and then like Havertz, like the Muller, like the players they have, like Kimmich as well. Like it is like on paper, it's a great team, and they do play well together. I think the system is good as well. Kimmich all kind of finds himself sometimes alone on that right side, and he has a lot of space to put the ball in the box, and he's a real warrior. And then you've got players like Goretzka, Sane, Werner off the bench. Like I generally do think it is a decent team, and it's probably better than a lot of people have given them credit for. Um, I do still think they won't finish in the top two, but I definitely think they'll beat Hungary convincingly enough, and they'll finish third. I think I'd be disappointed not to see them as one of the best placed third teams because I generally think they are a lot better than people kind of are saying.
yeah. Well, like the next two games, obviously they lose 1-0 in this one, but you know, a draw against Portugal, which is fairly possible. You know, Portugal,
Yeah,
you know, they do have a bit of a, I don't know, they're a bit unconvincing at times, especially like you even saw today in the first half against Hungary. But you know, the big one is going to be against Hungary to rack up as many goals as they can and win the game as convincingly as possible to make sure that they're one of
Yeah,
those third
yeah,
place teams. Because there will be teams that will go through with 3 points. Like Portugal, as far as I remember, in 2016, didn't win any of their group games. They drew all of them and still got
yeah.
through.
You're right. You're right.
Um, so, and they went on to win it. So, and is another thing, if they come third, they actually could end up in a better situation than the team that comes second. If the team that comes second have to play England, the team that come third could literally
Yeah,
be on the good side of the draw against a handy enough team. Whether it's you know, I don't know who they could possibly come up against, but because it's a bit iffy with the third place teams. But
yeah,
you know, you could end up getting a handy one like Slovakia or, you know, Austria or something like that. Let's say not a handy one, but for
yeah,
them that should be fairly handy. And having an easier route to the quarters or the semis or however far they could go, because they have the potential to.
yeah. 100%. Like, I completely agree with everything you said there. And yeah, it's like for England, like in the last World Cup, you saw if they had to come first, they would have had to play um Japan, then Brazil, and then France on that side of the draw. Whereas they actually ended up playing um Colombia, Sweden, and then Croatia, and then it would have been France in the final. So
Yeah,
obviously Croatia were a great team, but like that is a very favorable draw to get to a World Cup final. Like that would be one of the easiest you could think of. So sometimes it is better to finish third second in that situation. So it does
yeah,
work out better. But yeah, overall, I'm still sticking with France as my winners. To be honest, I just feel like the fact that they've definitely got the best caliber starting 11 and depth off the bench. Um, I still feel like they're just a team to get the job done. I'm thinking to myself, oh, they don't look great when I watch them, but they never look great. They just
yeah,
get the job done.
yeah, yeah. I completely agree. For me, look, I'm gonna stick with what I put my money on, and that's gonna be Italy. Um, you know, just a
Yeah,
complete outside favorite, underdog story. You'd love to see it. Like, didn't even qualify for the World Cup
Jorginho for
last.
Ballon d'Or. He wins Champions League and the Euros.
Yeah, and in fairness, fella got like 10 goals in the Premier League from all penalties.
Yeah, all penalties.
Yeah. No, yeah, I really
Anyway,
do. I think Italy could make a decent run, depending on what side of the draw
yeah,
they end up on.
yeah. So we're sticking with our predictions anyway. Um, so yeah, we'll be back podcast soon. We'll try and keep doing the podcasts every. We'll do one after game week 2 and game week 3, and then discuss the kind of implications for the draws and everything like that, and the different permutations that come with that. So yeah, we'll be posting then in the next few days again. So thanks very much for listening. It's been the Couch Runners podcast. Check out our Instagram too. Hey, thanks very much. Bye.
Cheers.